Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last day of Made in Brunel TV. Pav very kindly signed off for us last night, so I'm going to intro us this morning after the, quite frankly, diabolical events that transpired.
Yes, yeah. I hope everybody enjoyed the hot wings, to be honest.
I didn't like when it was happening.
No.
After the fact, I was downstairs watching it in the reception with a few of the guys, and it seems to go down well, unlike your hot wings.
Unlike my hot
funnily
wings.
enough. But I am here today wearing the shirt as a kind of homage to what happened. But no, as I said earlier, it's the last day of Made in Brunel TV. It's going to follow a fairly similar format to as it has been the past couple of days. Going to start off with some student interviews in the morning and then the first hour of the afternoon before we lead into the last student-led programming that will run until 5 o'clock. So stay tuned for us.
Yeah, we've also got the showcase is still happening, by the way, for 2 more days. So if you can make it down, it is a weekend. Please do try and come down to the Barge House, South Bank, Oxo Tower. We're here for, again, 2 more days. So yeah, it should be a good time. We've still got everybody exhibiting. We've still got loads of merch. I think pieces of merch sold out yesterday.
Pieces of merch sold out. I know the Singletones
sold out.
And the Lego sets, the Lecture Centre Lego sets are sold out. However, they are available on pre-order.
Yes.
So if you come down, you'll be able to pre-order one of those.
Yeah. No, I think I want to get my hands on one of those.
You reckon?
So, yeah.
I'm not sure. I might break the budget for me.
It's all right. It's worth it.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, fine. So.
Anyway, we will be back shortly with our first major project interview.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with our first student interview of the day for the major project. We're joined by Emma on the sofa, the couch. We still haven't come up with a name for that. Bench.
Sure.
Bench, made in bench.
Made in bench.
I'm going to stop now. Emma, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys?
Not too bad. Yeah. We're just about getting through.
Yeah.
How's the showcase been for you? This is your first full day, isn't it?
First full day. I have been at work for the first 2 days, popping by when I can. So I'm very excited to be here the whole day, speak to everyone, actually do the thing.
Awesome. Have you got like friends and family coming along, or?
Yes, I have quite a few people. I've scheduled them all in. They will have the full tour. Very exciting.
I should have done that.
That's far more organised than either of us. People rocking up and going, yeah, come on, let's do it.
I can't.
Anyway, showcase aside, we're here to talk about your major project,
Yes.
which is the TBC system.
Yes.
I'm sure Pav will get into the name later. Because
Myself? No, you usually like the name.
no, it's your thing.
It's both of us.
Both
it's
of
all
our
right.
thing,
Yeah.
but we have been enjoying the names thus far. But first, tell us a little bit about your major project, just generally speaking.
Yep. So the system is a 2-component system, and it's basically creating meaningful utilisation of waste textiles in the fashion garment manufacturing industry.
Cool. So, how does it work?
Yeah,
What's
so
the
it
premise?
works with waste textiles. The premise is the offcuts from manufacturing the product, so from pattern cutting, excess trim, over purchasing of material, because that's a significant problem in the industry. Utilising that as feedstock for lactobacillus, a bacteria that when it feeds off of the carbohydrates in the material, they produce lactic acid. The whole system is about collecting this bacteria and the lactic acid for polymerization to produce a home compostable PLA alternative to the clear plastic poly bags that clothing is shipped in now. Because regardless of how you want to look at it, even if they say that they're sustainable and they ship them in, like paper, like fabric bags, at some point it will be in a plastic bag, and they're all clear, they're all new plastic, and they are unrecyclable. So it creates a massive amount of waste. 150 billion garments are produced annually. Each one of them comes in at least 1 plastic bag. So it's a very wasteful industry.
Oh, God. How did you go about kind of researching it, and then what was kind of the inspiration for wanting to tackle this problem?
So the inspiration came from, while I've been at university, I've been working as a stylist for a clothing company. And while doing that, I realised like each week where I worked, the location, at least 2,000 plastic bags were disposed of. Processing the clothing, processing the garments. I was thinking, this is really bad. There's no way that you can dispose of this safely. And even thinking, this goes to customers. No one knows how to get rid of it properly, because only 9% of all plastic sent for recycling actually gets recycled. So it's a massive problem that people think, oh, it's not too bad, fast fashion is the problem, but it's actually the infrastructure around this that's significant as well.
And what about so obviously you're a product design student,
Yes.
but the thing with the lactobacillus,
Yes, lactobacillus,
It is
LAB.
Yes. Quite a lot of biochemistry almost going on there.
Yes.
So how did you go about kind of testing that without the aid of the workshops at Brunel?
So I actually propagated the bacteria myself. So from rice water starches, the bacteria exists. You use an initial starter of low temperature pasteurized milk just to give it that kickstart to feed it. You'll get it separated, which I did. I stabilized it with brown sugar just to keep it at like sort of like room temperature, not cool. And then I added that to both completely organic textiles and composite with synthetic textiles as well, just to see how the bacteria breaks down. And I had, in the completely cotton fabric, significant weave degradation within like 2 weeks. So it does work, and it does work for composite materials as well, so you can separate, it will feed off the organic part of it. The synthetic would need to be removed, so that's, further development for this. But it's a good way of even utilising textiles that can't be recycled. Once it's a composite, you can't recycle that fabric whatsoever. So it's proof of concept. I've done that myself at home because it's very limited. But yeah, that's what I managed to do myself.
No, it's really impressive.
Yeah, I think, just the kind of ingenuity to go out and do that kind of thing yourself.
Because it's not a particularly easy proof of concept.
No, it can go wrong. A lot of the times you can actually kill off the bacteria because the fermentation process of the rice water, especially with the milk, you have to keep a good eye on it because you can basically spoil it. You have to keep smelling it. Like, it smells sweet but kind of off. But if it smells bad really quickly, and that's a difference of half a day. Especially with where I was doing it in warmer temperatures near the Aga just to keep sort of like the temperature consistent, which was the main problem for me. I had a couple batches going. The first batch, it spoiled because I was a bit new to this, but actually it's done quite frequently for home composting to sort of like propagate bacteria there. So there's a lot of people that have really cool ways of doing it at home. So
cool. This is a commercialised domestic product. So.
It's commercialised because the setting of the product would be in points of manufacture for fabric, textiles, just to remove the whole collecting it and transporting it elsewhere. However, talking to people at the showcase, even in the evening, someone was like, oh, what about, like textile recycling? So this could be in domestic settings, like in, say for instance, charity shops, where you get a lot of textiles that you can't always sell the product for. This is a way of utilising it for sort of like meaningful outcomes without sending it to landfill or incineration, which is what 97% of all textiles manufactured for clothing, that's the end of life. So at the end of the wear of the garment, over purchasing of fabric that's never used, mismanufactured fabric, and microplastics as well.
Microplastic, yeah. And microplastics are a big problem.
No, they are. Just talk to me a little bit about your primary consumer though then.
Primary consumer for the product would be companies, brands that would like to have a little bit more of a hands-on sustainable manufacturing process, because a lot of them try to do this because nowadays, especially with the sort of like eco-conscious consumer, they want more sustainable products and they want more sustainable outcomes for the manufacturing. So a lot of them only use organic textiles. They use low waste printing, so they each dress looks different because they cut where is best to utilize all the textile versus what looks best in the end. And a lot of people don't realize, I have this sustainable organic t-shirt. Actually, the same volume of material is wasted and incinerated. So I think it's sort of like being very comprehensive and encouraging a circular economy in the industry, because that's a really big, impactful way of sort of reducing the environmental impact of clothing, because it's everyone's going to keep manufacturing it. It's not going to go away. So it just needs to be a bit more mindful.
It's really cool. I think you'll be interested in this as well, because as resident branding manager, it's my understanding that you did do a little bit of kind of preliminary branding ideation for the PLA bags themselves. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not on the boards because I was intending it to be sort of like showing people separately. But basically, I redesigned the bag to have fewer sizes required for shipping and redesigned the tab as well to reduce the volume of contaminated PLA. Because it is home compostable, it will break down within 3 years at home. A lot of them say like biodegradable poly bags. Now, they're made from virgin materials. It causes a whole like deforestation issue to propagate sort of like what you need to make them. And they take multiple years to break down in industrial environments. So high temperatures, different bacteria, and it's not very widely done. So the whole bag was designed to have a gusseted side to reduce the sizes required to fit the most volume of product, and it's a pull-through tab, so a very small amount of the PLA is actually contaminated with adhesive or tape, so you can just sort of rip that little bit off. And it has all the information to encourage the consumer, the end consumer, purchaser of the product, to dispose of it at home or even in their council collection garden waste, so that they know exactly what's happened, where it's come from, how it helps the industry, and it has opportunity for branding of the company. So it's the brand, personal brand TBC, it's a collaboration, it's a licensing of a product with the companies that would like to sort of like participate in this system.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's kind of answered the question of the name, to be honest, because it's
No,
obviously
it doesn't.
is. Oh, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Someone asked me about this because they
Go
were
on.
hoping for like a really interesting thing, and it was terrible. Basically, while I was writing things, I was like, oh, I need a name. I'm writing these paragraphs, I need a name. And I just put TBC, to be continued, I'll sort it out later. And then I thought, slightly poetic, circular economy, to be continued, so it's stuck.
Yeah.
It's not, like, it's actually an okay name, because
Yeah.
you need something snappy, but
It's
it
good
wasn't,
name.
it wasn't.
To
The
be
reasoning
continued.
behind it's pretty good as
It's
well.
quite, yeah. The to be continued is it's almost quite punny, but
It's
yeah.
good.
It's punny, we love a punny name.
We love punny.
It's either
Punny's
that or finding something in another language that basically iterates, or indeed.
You can find the word recycling Greek or something, just use that.
good. Do you know off the top
No,
of
I
your
don't know
head?
off the top of my head, but no, I don't know.
Well,
TBC,
hang it
I'm
like
just
an idiot,
saying.
don't you?
I do, yeah.
I'll tell you what we do know. We do know the Greek, the Greek god of the wind in,
Yes, yeah.
in ancient Greek.
Olus.
Olus.
Yeah, there we go.
Olus.
Yeah.
Do you reckon? Sorry, what was it?
Tactus.
Do you reckon Tactus is like the Greek god of touching?
Yeah.
Oh
Anyway,
Um,
tangents aside,
yeah.
I think that just about wraps us up
Yeah,
for your interview.
Yeah, thank you very much, Emma, for coming
no.
on.
Thank you so much for
and
having
sharing your
me.
project. We appreciate it. We will be back in a second with another student project. Welcome back to another student interview. We've got Yasmine here with her project Modus, and we've got a Viva presentation video, so we're going to show that now. So that was Yasmine's Viva presentation video for Modus. Hi Yasmine.
Hiya.
Could you talk us a little bit around about your inspiration behind why you decided to pursue this solution?
So basically, I started out with quite a different brief, but I worked in collaboration with a school in central London, so it was ICS International School, Paddington, and I was working with the students there to try and improve their sixth form study centre. So it had like a small room. It was there was two rooms actually, but they were divided, and it was obviously in London there's limited space, so they were kind of in the basement area, so it was quite dark and dingy, and I worked with them to try and improve like their learning environment, help induce like a good space to like help focus and like good cognitive abilities through different design interventions, I guess. So like during the whole process, co-creation activities to like get that. So yeah.
quite cool. So, and what kind of like materials is your product made out of?
So the base of the light is made out of a cork because it has quite good acoustic absorbing properties. It's also quite aesthetic and really like tangible, like you really want to like touch it, which is quite a nice vibe, especially for the children. And then in the model that I've made, I've just used acrylic, but that would probably be replaced with something like PLA or something a bit more sustainable, hopefully if it was to get like actually manufactured.
I was going to touch on that actually, your model, your prototype. How did you go about creating that? Because I think I've seen it and it works, doesn't it?
Yeah, so
Sounds so surprised. It works.
well, I mean, mine doesn't. So you know, a lot of them are just aesthetic models. So we've got a working model here. It's very rare at the moment.
just about working. Yeah, so I managed to get into workshops after hours, just for cutting down a few things on the bandsaw, and then a lot of things I did at home, just in my room or like outside. So it was a bit makeshift. To be honest, but yeah, I managed to get some lighting elements and put them within it. So yeah, it's not perfect, and there'd be a lot more I'd like to have finished off with the model, but it's nice to have something tangible and physical for the show as well, and for like just myself.
I think anyone that's made a physical model this year has done an excellent job. Wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the cork, because cork is something that I've also used in my major project, and the difficulties I have with it is that it's a product with a material with a lot of very desirable properties, but in terms of manufacturing it, processing of it, can be quite difficult. So what kind of manufacturing parameters did you explore for the cork part of the model?
So just for my like actual prototype, I ended up getting a block of cork and just cutting it down to size and machining it like out of it. However, if it was actually to be manufactured, you can kind of, I think, like compress cork and stuff into molds, I believe. Hopefully that's right. Please don't add me if it's not.
I think you're right. I think you can do
so that was what I kind of suggested, but yeah.
Awesome, really cool.
Yeah, I think you have touched on the sound absorbing properties of it. Well, you were telling me about it.
Yeah, I directed you towards cork as well. I feel like I've
You've been a cork master.
Cork master Crabtree.
Yeah.
That's the best nickname I've had in a very long time.
Fair. Could you talk us through what each kind of light, how it affects the person, the user?
Yeah, so basically the aim would be to have like a free-flowing circadian lighting system. So you go from like warmer tones all the way to cool tones, including like a kind of bright white light. So basically that affects your mood, because everything, your whole like internal functions run off circadian rhythms. So that's like the sunlight and how that affects you. And it's about mimicking that within like a working environment to like optimize the lighting for your specific needs. So if you were like doing, I don't know, you were studying, you'd want quite a bright light, and that can help you like retain focus and like stay motivated to do your work. However, if you were just like chilling with your friends, wanted to read a book or something, maybe you'd want a bit of a warmer light, and it like warms up the room a bit and just makes it a bit more of a chill vibe. And then the kind of brighter blue light, that can help with like inducing like energy and make you feel a bit more energetic. So it's really good for the mornings. Yeah. So yeah.
And we saw in your Viva video that you have an app that goes with it.
Yeah.
How did you go about creating that and integrating it with the product itself?
So I used Adobe XD to create the app. I think pretty generically there. But the aim was to have like a few preset settings. So there was 6 settings, which the students or like whoever was using it could automatically click to, but then they can also adjust it and like a reel to like whatever they want to make it a bit easier, especially because it's designed to have quite a few modules so that you can move them around and interact with the light. So then you can like set them all up to change the right colour instead of having to go round one by one and change it.
Really cool.
Excellent project. Really enjoyable.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Yasmine, for coming on.
Amazing.
We appreciate you sharing your major project with us. We will be back shortly with another project. We're back with another major project, and we're back with another major project video. Andrew's project, Omni, has a video presentation, so here we go.
This presentation will provide an overview of the design of a modular everyday carry multi-tool, as well as a demonstration of a 3D printed prototype. My brief for this product was to provide users with an everyday carry modular multi-tool that enables them to configure a personal tool set to tackle the wide range of potential scenarios that they may face in the modern world. Both primary and secondary research into this subject has given me some key insights that have helped inform the design process. In a survey conducted, 59% of respondents said that the potential legal implications of carrying a tool with a knife blade would put them off carrying a multi-tool. As most modern multi-tools don't give the option to remove components, the user must face a choice: carry a knife with them or leave their device at home. Extensive market research revealed that many of the tools contained on typical multi-tools are outdated and not suited to the day-to-day needs of the modern users. Items like saws, lever awls and corkscrews are relatively niche components, yet feature on so many products, taking up space and weight. Other issues my survey has identified with modern multi-tools are the weight and bulk of carrying them, the inclusion of tools that aren't useful, and the difficulty of using them. The majority of the problems identified can all be solved through developing a modular tool. This would allow users to only carry what is useful to them on a given day, and provide the option to leave behind tools such as knives which aren't suitable for every environment. After exploring a range of solutions, my final proposal is Omni, a multi-tool that allows users to very quickly and easily select which tools they want to carry each day, connect them together into a discrete package, and carry it with them. Each Omni tool is designed to slide into a lightweight, milled and anodized aluminium frame, and is held in place by strong neodymium magnets. Each frame houses an injection molded nylon snap fit that works as a twist lock. The user can then click the frames together at 180 degrees to each other, and then rotate them to line up, locking them together. The primary target market for Omni are those in the millennial generation, and so primary research was conducted in the form of surveys sent to this demographic, who ranked and scored a range of potential tools based on their usefulness to them. The results of this helped to influence the range of tools that can be seen here. From left to right, the tools are a folding comb with both fine and wide teeth, a pair of scissors, a folding pocket knife, a squeezable liquid dispenser, a pen, a charging cable, and a key holder. The use of these tools and how they fit into the Omni system will now be demonstrated. In this instance, 3 tools have been chosen: a comb, a pen, and a folding pocket knife. The tools are held at 180 degrees to each other and are clicked together using the snap fit. The tools can then be rotated to align with each other, locking them in place. Protective covers can also be clipped to the outside of the tool stack, providing protection for the tools inside. Neodymium magnets in the corner of each frame help the tools to satisfyingly align. The twist lock mechanism means that the tools can only be separated when at 180 degrees to each other. The tools are only held together by the friction snap fit. When the user needs to use a tool, they can simply fan out the device in their hand and remove the tool they need. Items like pocket knives can be removed from their frames and used independently from the main tool stack. Some items like the pen and comb are extendable. Here the pen is removed from its frame and the lid is placed onto the back, extending its length. The pen can now be used as a full-sized writing implement. Other tools such as the scissors utilise the tool frames as handles to make their usage easier. Omni's modularity brings with it a host of potential future developments. The proprietary locking mechanism means that any product designed with the same connection would be able to attach to Omni, opening up the possibility of collaborations with other consumer product manufacturers. Not only can new tools be designed to connect to Omni, but new accessories too. For example, a clip that can attach Omni to a user's belt, or a key fob that allows connection to a keyring or bag. Omni's modularity also means it is a perfect product to foster a repeat customer base, with users buying new tools to add to their range or receiving them as gifts. The standardised design of the tool frames means that there could be an option for new tools to be purchased individually to swap in and out without the need to buy a new frame as well. This would offer a more affordable way for customers to expand their choice of tools to carry each day. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
So that was Andrew's project, Omni. Hi Andrew,
Hiya.
welcome.
How are we doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Not so bad, not so bad.
So I'm just going to come straight from your Viva. You touch upon like your specific material choice that you use for your project. Can you talk us a little bit more through your decisions as to why you made them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously one of the prime sort of competitors for my product would be sort of the classic Victorian Oxford Army knife, which are known for the sort of iconic red plastic handles. But I wanted to go something a little bit more premium than that, so the obvious choice was to go something metal. Then it was sort of a trade-off between steel or aluminium. So I did a bit of stress testing to figure out whether I wanted to do aluminium ideally, because it's lightweight and you can anodise it. But yeah, so I did some stress tests between that and steel just to figure out whether, because some of the components are quite thin, so I was unsure whether aluminium would be able to sort of put up with the stresses and the strains. But yeah, from stress testing, found out that the sort of benefits I was gaining from it being lightweight sort of outweighed the potential risks of it deforming. Then for the snap fit, how it connects together, I went with sort of injection molded nylon. Nylon self-lubricating, which sort of lends itself nicely to the sort of rotation, keeps it nice and smooth.
Yeah.
Helps it click together. Yeah.
No, it's quite cool. I'm a huge fan of modules.
Yeah.
Just in general, everything. I don't know if you noticed, everything I do is just modular.
Right.
It's a really nice buzzword, and I enjoy it. Yours is modular as well.
Yep.
And you have different modules. How many did you design? How many did you prototype? Is there a limit on the amount that can be produced and attached? And do you have any plans to make more?
Yeah. So designed 7 overall. I think I had a whole range of different ones in my head that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone I speak to has got a different idea of something that could fit into it, and that's been something really exciting about this project. But yeah, narrowed it down to sort of like a top 10 or so through user testing and speaking to people, surveys, finding out what was going to be most popular. So yeah, went with 7 in the end, all designed, all prototyped. The nice thing about it is essentially it all slides into a slot. And that slot's the same size for each tool pretty much. So basically, whatever tool I'm designing, it just has to fit into a rectangle basically. So those are my constraints, and within that I've got a fair amount of freedom. So it really opens up quite a wide range of possibilities. Yeah, in terms of planning to do more tools, definitely. I'd love to expand the range as much as possible. Talking to my supervisor, we were saying how we've got to be realistic in terms of you can't just design 50, because if you're looking in the real world in terms of stocking stuff and producing stuff, you've got to be realistic. So narrowing it down to about 7 was sort of the sweet spot we found.
Yeah.
I've got to ask, what would be in your Omni multi-tool?
Oh, good question. Good question.
What would your modules be?
To be honest, the ones that I've used for most of the heroes, I've gone with pocket knife, I think it's a pair of scissors and a pen. I've gone with that because that's pretty much, I think, what I'd carry with me. Depending on what I'm doing, I mean, working around Brunel, doing design stuff, working in workshops, I think those are useful items that I would have with me, and that's been part of the inspiration of this. But that's the beauty of the modularity, is that you don't. One of the problems that we found with existing products like Swiss Army knives is they've all got a blade attached, and that was one of the biggest things that puts people off carrying one, is that you don't always want to have a knife with you. So with the modularity, obviously you can remove that very quickly, leave it at home, and only carry it when it's suitable, which is a really big deal. So for me, if I'm around working workshops, maybe at home, then that'll probably be the ones I go with. But then again, if you're heading out, you can simply pop off some of the tools that maybe not appropriate to carry around town. If you're going on a night out, you might clip a comb on or something like that.
Comb and a bottle opener.
Bottle opener, yeah. There's a small dispenser, so you could fill it up with whatever you want to.
Unnamed liquid.
Hot sauce for your kebab afterwards.
Hot sauce.
That's it,
Yeah. No.
Beard oil.
That's a better one.
I was going to say, that'd be yours,
the
isn't
better
it?
one. I like the beard oil one. Yeah, that's a cool one. No, just explain to me briefly how you went about developing the mechanism, the snap fit mechanism, because that's kind of essential to this whole thing.
Yeah.
If that fails, then you can't.
It lives and dies on that. So that was one of the biggest things about it, sort of technically, that I knew I had to nail. A lot of sketching, a lot of ideation, going through different things. I just wanted it to be as simple and as easy to use as possible. Like the sort of vision I had at the start was just being able to have these modules on your bedside table. You wake up and you literally pick them up, clip them together, and go. So initially I was thinking just a very simple press stud that would be But then the problem was that you want it to be tight enough that it stays together and it's secure, but then also have a nice amount of rotation in it. So a lot of sort of 3D printing, prototyping, filling tolerances, changing the shape and whatnot. And I basically found that the press stud, it sort of works, and it was hard because I couldn't actually test it with nylon, which is the proper material I would use. It was only with the resin we use in the 3D printers. But I found after a while, even with the resin, it would start to sort of wear down a bit and come a bit loose. So I then decided to add a sort of locking mechanism to it. So it's very simple. It's just a sort of slight protrusion on the snap fit that then clips into a groove. When the tools are at 180 degrees, you can clip them together. So you've got the snap fit, and then the sort of protrusion slots into a groove, and then once you rotate it around, it's then locked into place. So you've got the sort of tactility, you've got the satisfaction of clicking something together, then you've also got the security of it locking into place. You know it physically can't be pulled apart when it's sort of in this orientation. Yeah, so that was the process then. A lot of back and forth with 3D printing and just testing it out, really.
Sure. Awesome, man.
Yeah,
really
it's
good
really
project.
cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for coming on and showing
Cool.
us your project. We'll be back shortly with another major project. We're back with a student. We've got Dan with us, and Dan's also got the third Viva video of the day. So here is Dan's Viva presentation.
The Nova Equino is a modular lighting system designed to help improve employee well-being in the workplace. It utilises the daylight cycle to help regulate the body's circadian rhythm. The product works by using a daylight LED chip capable of replicating the wavelength and intensity of light from the sun. This is mounted to a circuit board with an aluminium backing for heat dispersal. This assembly is then screwed into a cold-forged aluminium heatsink to further aid with heat dispersal. Cold forging was chosen for maintaining the thermal conductive properties of the aluminium it is made from. In front of the LED PCB sits the polycarbonate reflector with a vacuum metallized coating, the same finish found on car headlights. Clipping onto the reflector is the lens frame, slotting through gaps on the side with legs to hold it in place. The polymethyl methacrylate lens clips into the frame, using protrusions on the inside of the frame, clipping into gaps on the side of the lens. PMMA was chosen for its optical clarity over polycarbonate or acrylic. The whole assembly then fits into the PLA internal case, using supporting ribs and pre-cut slots to hold them securely. The slots are mirrored in the top and bottom parts, ensuring a tight fit. The two halves friction fit together using slots and spines. The aluminium outer case then fits around the internal case and fits together in the same way. The main aluminium outer casing will be powder coated to ensure the durability of the product and protect the material underneath from light damage from being moved around and adjusted. The case will be available in the RAL colour standard options. This keeps the product in line with other products on the market that are able to be customised in the same way. RAL colours are a standard for European varnish and powder coating, similar to the Pantone colour spectrum for paint. Baffles will also be customisable, but available in limited colours. This is to help keep glare from the product to a minimum. Certain colours and finishes can increase and amplify eye discomfort, such as shiny white, shiny black and silver. Alternative materials for the baffle will also be available, dependent on the client's budget and suitability to the application. The most expensive part of the luminaire would be the track connector and driver. This is a stock part manufactured by a separate company and will be bought in bulk to help reduce costs and keep the cost to the consumer low. The driver is estimated to cost between £15 to £20 per unit. Including all of the other materials and components, the total end price is estimated to be in the region of £40 to £60 per unit. When compared to other products on the market, it is placed in a very competitive region, exactly where it was planned to be. When compared to similar products, such as the Floss Zero Track Spotlight, retailing upwards of £60 per unit, it is more affordable to more businesses. Being in this price range makes it a cost-effective and competitive solution to the problem. There are several key touchpoints on the product that a user can interact with. The first main touchpoint is the channel along the side of the luminaire. This channel is an indication for a user of where to put their fingers in order to adjust the angle of the light. Originally, this slot was only incorporated into the end of the product. Through form development, the decision was made to extend this to the length of the product and make it a design detail. The idea is to show the user where to adjust the luminaire from, as grabbing the body of the luminaire may result in injuries or burns from the heat. The second key touchpoint is the bracket and the rotation of the luminaire. The rotation can be done by lightly gripping the bracket and pulling or pushing it to the desired position. The two differing materials on the bracket also create a visual appeal and serve a functional purpose, as the smooth plastic allows the parts to rotate within it better than the powder-coated metal would. The last key touch point is the track. Once placed in the track, the luminaire can be adjusted with a single finger, allow it to be positioned to where the user needs it to be. To remove the luminaire from the track, it can simply be pulled out and put back in another point on the track. The Nova Equino is a new modular lighting solution to well-being in the workplace.
So that was Dan's project video for the Nova Equino. We got Dan with us now. Hi Dan, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good, thanks. Yourself?
I'm doing all right. Thank you. Yeah. It's a fairly technical project. And do you have an experience in lighting design? Did that kind of help you with it?
Yeah. So I spent a year working on my placement, working for DPA lighting consultants, and just all saw through that. Like every week we'd have different companies coming in showing us their products and how they worked, what you could do with them, and just sort of like the different sort of combinations that you could have with it, whether it be for like an office or like an architectural project. So just sort of seeing how those products worked, what you could do with them, all the different features you could have. They really sort of formed a basis for this project, and was sort of like the base sort of technical understanding for it, and really sort of how the different applications for lighting, not just making your room bright or whatever. It's just sort of how it can actually be used for a proper purpose.
And so, speaking on that purpose, how does lighting affect a user's working experience?
So the main basis of the project was that different coloured lights can affect the human body clock and all the processes associated with that. So sort of going on the shortwave blue light produces like an overly stimulant melatonin response in the body, which causes it to, you feel alert, which is why, when you're using computers and things, it's not, you need to break every so often so that you should not be overly stimulated by blue light. And then in the main project, by using what's called like a daylight chip, it's been modified so that it removes the spike caused by artificial blue light and brings it more in line with sunlight, which creates a more natural light. Which helps then maintain the body's natural body clock, and just sort of keeps. So instead of like it's constant light all day, it actually changes colour slightly throughout the day, and just creates a better working environment for that.
Oh, okay. Really interesting.
Yeah, that's a dynamic approach to doing this. Your project, Nova Equino, is centred around the workspace specifically, communal workspaces, office space, this kind of thing. Why did you choose that environment specifically?
So through research, I found that seasonal affective disorder was a thing, and it was really affecting people in like indoor work environments because they're not getting that stimulation from natural daylight, where you need like a minimum of 30 minutes a day to maintain your body clock. And this was a big thing through even like working on placement. I noticed people in the office, they're sleepy, tired, unmotivated and whatever. And then sort of, through working from home, obviously over the pandemic and things, it was just, things became sort of more prevalent, especially, again, then starting in September, where we couldn't obviously go to workshops or lectures. We basically spent the whole time in the room and things. So that sort of led me to sort of piece two and two together with the lighting technology, and so I had like a solution and now I had a problem. It was sort of bringing those two things together to create obviously the solution to that problem.
Awesome. It's a really cool approach.
Really interesting project. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
it is. Now, thank you very much, Dan, for joining us on
all
MIB
right.
TV. We appreciate you showing off your major project. We'll be back shortly with another student major project.
Welcome back to MIB TV. We're taking a break from the Viva presentations for the time being to introduce Edd's major project. Edd, How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Not seen you in a little while. How have you been?
Yeah, not too bad. I've been living out the lockdown in the countryside.
Yeah? Whereabouts in the countryside?
I live in Alton, so middle of nowhere, Hampshire.
Middle of nowhere, Hampshire. Not too far away from me. I'm Wiltshire, so
yeah.
very nice, very nice. How have you enjoyed the showcase so far?
Yeah, it's been good. I've only been here Friday and today, but so far it's been really enjoyable. It's nice to chat with people face to face about things.
Yeah, I think that's we've had a lot of that.
A lot of people mentioned that.
Yeah. So, what about your major project? What have you been up to this year?
Okay, so this project was inspired after watching our online TV show, and it was a particular user case scenario where they were called out to save someone who'd been trapped by an incoming tide, and they were pinned to rocks, and it ended up being a very time-critical incident to get them off. And then it actually happened on that same tide, several other people were caught out as well. And so that was kind of the starting point, looking actually, is there a way we can possibly prevent people being caught out by the tide? And so I then went forth from that into the research, and I ended up trying to kind of create a way of communicating the tides to a user that was unmissable, something that you couldn't ignore while you're walking. Because we initially looked like, do you do an app that go on your watch or your phone, and how would that alert you? But actually being by the sea is quite loud, you've got the sea coming, you've got seagulls, you've got noise, and there's very easy ways to miss notifications, even if it's sounds, vibrations. And so that's why we decided to actually, this is going to be a new device. It's not just going to be an application. The final form we actually arrived at is this bit here. And unfortunately this board doesn't show amazingly, but it actually mounts onto a backpack mount. So you put a plate underneath one strap, then a plate on top. You lock the two together, then the device is mounted into this. So actually while you're walking, it's protruding from the backpack in front of you. It then communicates the actual tide through the light, so it changes by colour. So red, for example, tide's coming in, green, tide's going out, you're safe, you can relax a bit more. Then there's also auxiliary lights that come on at different points. Say, for example, I'm in an area that's known to cut off and completely flood. Then you have different alert lights that come on for that. And then of course it's all linked to your phone the whole time. So before I've gone for my walk, I've decided actually I'm going to walk from Swanage to Studland perhaps. So I plot the route in, the phone then comes back to you, actually the tide's currently doing this. There are these dangers along the route, so you need to be aware of this before you go out. You then download that area and you go out for your walk. And the whole time the device is communicating with your phone using the phone as a GPS, so that it reduces the internal components of the product. And yeah, essentially as you walk it communicates, tells what's going on, and it gives you warnings as you're going to try and prevent people from accidentally putting themselves at risk of being cut off by the tide. Essentially, yeah, sorry, that was a long explanation.
No, it's
the
good.
product in a
It's a very
nutshell.
comprehensive answer. I do have just a follow-up question though, which is obviously knowing how to capture someone's attention requires a really good understanding of cognitive resources and kind of cognitive processing, resource competition. How did you approach that challenge? What research did you do?
Well, one thing, because when I arrived at the idea of using light, possibly, we looked at various ways of using light. I actually, I'm fairly close to an optometrist, and so I spoke with them for a while about how the light, your eyes process light, and so looking at the best ways of what colours you use, where do you position it, what other people's peripheral vision's like, because this product, initially the idea was it was going to be really up close, perhaps in like a pair of glasses, and actually maybe people are going to struggle with that because it's a bit too intense, so actually let's bring it out a bit, but then it was also trying to balance up the issue that not everyone has the same vision. And that's why we ended up at this bar design, because then it means if you perhaps have a smaller peripheral vision, I can bend it inwards and it can be more in my field of view.
I think you've cleaned up in my head some things about the product, which is quite good, because obviously I've read through your product and had a look at your board and everything, and I was a bit unsure as to how it was going to be used, but I think protruding is definitely the cool way of doing it.
Yeah,
I thought it would be down. I was like, I don't know how you're going to see that, but this makes complete sense now. So it's really good. Could you talk a little bit through the companion app then, how that kind of works with the product?
Yeah, so the app is primarily for planning and giving you the initial awareness of where you're going. So within it, it has the information for your current location, so it gives you the tides throughout the whole week perhaps. It can be configured to what you need perhaps. And then it gives you the ability to plan your route and highlight anything preemptively, so that it kind of subconsciously puts that awareness in the user's head that actually, I know I'm doing this route, I know I need to watch out for these things. And then of course it has that communication the whole time between the two. One other thing we did integrate into it was within the app there's an SOS feature, so for some reason if I did end up in trouble, however unlikely that is, you can press the SOS button and it will take you to a page that uses a 3 words application. It gives you your almost exact location, which means you can pass it straight onto a 999 call handler, so it should give them a really a real certainty to where you are, which can then be passed on to whatever emergency services needed. So that's one of the key aspects.
That's quite cool. Yeah,
it's a really nice combination, interplay between the two, how the two facilitate and support each other.
I quite like the obviously the bright striking orange colour there. I'm guessing off the top of my head it's very similar to a life preserver.
Yeah, it was inspired by various marine safety measures and colours, really.
Yeah.
Not Pabst Blazer.
Not
You might have a hard time spotting that.
It's all going to get matted. That's correct.
Oh no, poor you.
Anyway, thank you very much, Ed, for coming on and sharing your major project with us. We really appreciate it. We will be back shortly with another major project.
And we're back after a short break to talk about another student major project, again taking a break from the MIB presentations, to talk to Ellie.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you two?
Not too bad. I think you're number 12 of the MIB team?
Oh, I think 9. I think you've gone too high.
Where do we get that from?
I don't know where you got 12. You got 12 from the amount of people that have hit the mic.
Oh, hit the mic.
Yeah. But no, I think you're about the 9th MIB member.
9th MIB member.
Yeah.
So how are you doing? How's the showcase been so far?
I'm good. I think it's been really good, really successful. I'm hearing a lot of positive feedback from everybody here. And not too hectic behind the scenes, which is nice.
No, you are managing the event.
Thank you, as are you.
The event is being managed, which is always good. But
always good.
Showcase aside, we've got a little bit of time to talk about your major project. So let's hear it.
So I designed Splish, and basically I got the idea for this project from looking into the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, specifically that for responsible consumption and production. So I was looking into kind of how unsustainable the domestic water use in the UK is, and I realised that so much of the water that we use every day is hidden water. So it's from the food we eat and the products we use. All the water that's taken to produce them, we don't realise how much we're using. And so I looked into specifically food and how small dietary changes that don't have a nutritional impact can really help save so much water. So for example, swapping one meal that maybe you'd have beef, if you have lamb instead, it'll save a vast amount of water. So that was kind of where I wanted to lead people and just kind of inform them about these values, because there's no information out there currently. So I kind of wanted to engage the whole family, and I came up with an app-product combination. So the app is designed for the kind of mature user that does the grocery shopping, with also a kind of junior aspect for the younger users. And then the product engages people who don't want to use phones or can't use phones, and enables them to log their meals, and then meals that are more sustainable and points to gain supermarket vouchers. That's basically the essence of Splish.
Okay, really, really cool. So there's an interplay between the user and formal retail outlets, formal supermarkets. So can you explain a little bit more about how that works?
Yeah, so essentially Splish kind of partners with supermarkets. So the supermarket would get increased custom from the vouchers that users gain to spend there, and then in exchange Splish would be marketed in those supermarkets. Obviously there is a big push for sourcing foods locally, which is obviously better for the environment. So as well as a supermarket voucher redemption option, there's also kind of local shops, which would depend on the area, but that's where I'm proposing that Splish would go.
Yeah, awesome. Also, why am I losing?
So on the main product interface, I kind of want to create like a gamified aspect, so you can see who in the family has, reduced their water footprint the most. So for example, I just use myself as an example name. So I've got the biggest fish, therefore I've saved the most water this week. And then we have Joe's in the middle, and Toby's done terribly. He's at the bottom.
I'm not being particularly sustainable.
So does Toby get the least amount of vouchers then, basically?
Yeah, Toby's doing really poorly. I'm afraid he'll have to work harder to gain top spot where I am on this interface.
Coming for you. Watch out.
Could you talk to us a bit more about the kind of the branding aspect, the visuals, like why fish, for example?
Yeah, of course. So I kind of wanted to create like a watery aspect, and I was looking really into how children would kind of see the interface, and I wanted to make it quite simplified but also fun and engaging. So I messed about with lots of little different icons, and giving an icon kind of personified effect really helps engage children, and the fact that these different colours are related to the avatars that you use when you create a profile on the app. And then the kind of backgrounds, I wanted to create like a wavy gradient like the sea, and the main brand colours are blues, which I did some research into how blue kind of portrays a brand, and often there's perceptions of, you know, trustworthiness and reliability, so that's something I really wanted my brand to echo.
Alright, cool. I think the question that we have to ask, I don't know, name.
Splish.
Why Splish?
Why not Splash?
Yeah.
So I was trialling different names to do with water. I tried things like Ripple, but obviously that's quite overused. And I wanted something really fun, a bit different, quite memorable. Okay. So I thought about Splash, I thought about Splosh, but I settled on Splish.
Yeah.
It got quite a good reception from everyone that I asked about it. And I do think it's quite fun, it's kind of playful, and you know, it's quite memorable. So.
Yeah, that is an onomatopoeia, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Splish. We've had a couple of those now.
I think it's quite good because it's quite short. It rolls off the tongue easily. Splish, you know.
Splish.
Yeah, Splish. So yeah.
Splish.
Yeah, Splish.
Why do you whisper everything? Seriously.
Splish.
Stop it.
It's more atmospheric if you
Stop
whisper
it.
No, thank you very much for coming on, Ellie, and sharing Splish with us. We really appreciate it. We'll be back shortly with another major project.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another student major project. This time we're talking to Juliette. Juliette, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm not too bad. How's the showcase been for you?
Warm.
What are we on now for that then? That's got to be
That's 9 as well.
We've got like 3 bingos going.
Yeah, we do.
It's really, really challenging.
Yeah, 9 people.
A little bit cooler today though. It's a little bit more, temperate.
Yeah.
Finding it pretty chill. Nice little calm zone. Anyway, enough about the weather. Tell us about your major project.
So, my major project is aimed at students and young adults. It basically was inspired pretty much by this year, the fact that we've all been locked in rooms that we don't want to be locked in for significant periods of time.
Tell me about it.
And I think a lot of people have suffered a lot more with depression than they would have normally, or other mental health illnesses. And I definitely felt it, and I know a lot of people in my life have suffered with it as well. So I wanted to design a product that is better than what is already out there, in the way that it is adaptable and adjustable completely to you, your routine and your moods. So it uses colour psychology to help like stabilise moods. If you've got mood fluctuations throughout the day, it will input like a colour that will help to stabilise your mood basically. And yeah.
Could you talk us through some of these psychological colours?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've come across colour psychology before, but basically the idea is that if you're exposed to different wavelengths of light, it will react with your mind in different ways. So for example, green is quite a calming colour, and it helps to improve your productivity. And the colour blue helps to de-stress. Red is obviously like passion, energy. Yellow is quite mellow. Good rhyme. So yeah, it basically uses the positive colours to help kind of counteract if you're feeling negative moods, or if you feel like you want to be productive but you're just like meh. You can put on a green colour and it'll help you feel a bit better. So yeah, that's that.
Awesome. So we've got an app-assisted project here.
Yes.
What is the interplay between the app and the physical product?
So you control the product primarily through the app.
Sure.
The only physical interaction that you can control through the product is on and off, which you can also do on the app, but that's just overrides the system. If you're like going out, you can just turn it off and then walk out. But otherwise you program in like your active hours on the app, your moods on the app. You can change your routine on the app, you can track your moods, you can track your locations if you want to move it around the house. And also one extension of it is that it can be, you can have one at home, you can have one at work, and through the app you can connect from one to the other, and it will just move your routine onto the other light. So yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Super adaptable.
Yeah. How did you go about kind of producing the app and kind of linking the two together? Did you start with one or the other, or was
I started with the physical product. I know I wanted it to be a globe. I know I wanted it to be interactive. So it's wireless. So there's a wireless charger between the two, and there's a battery inside the globe, so that you can pick up the globe and move it around the house. You can sit with it. You can cuddle it if you fancy that. I don't know. So I started off with that, and obviously the globe inspiration comes from the sun. I didn't want to take it too far away from that because that is the main inspiration. And then with the app, I knew what I needed to be able, the user to be able to do with the app. And then I took inspiration from other like weather apps that are quite immersive, and they use like the weather background, and it's just quite a nice UI design. So I used that inspiration to create the different functions of the app, basically.
I'm guessing the look of it, looking like the sun, leads into the name being solarly.
Yeah, so the name Solali.
Solali.
Yeah, solar and then only combined.
Okay.
So it's the only light you need. You don't even need the sun anymore. You've got this.
Okay, wow. That's a bold claim.
Well, I'm confident.
That's awesome. No, you obviously need to kind of test and play around with different kind of lightings. So how did you go about doing that?
So obviously we were quite limited by what we could do physically this year, so it was a lot of research. There's a lot of the research that has been done on lighting. One interesting one that I came across was actually the position of light. So if you've got a light coming from above, it's more like intimidating. You might feel a bit more stressed. If you've got one coming from below, then it's kind of calmer and you feel more at ease. So that's why it's a table lamp. So it's just like a nice, like emissive light in the corner of your room instead of something blaring in your face.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
like
really
these and stressing.
That's people come in and like, that's really interesting actually. I've never even considered that.
No, I didn't think about heights before.
No.
That's quite cool.
So that's why, like in office spaces, you have lights from above because it makes you just kind of focus on what you're doing. But a lot of people get headaches from that. I know when I'm in a place with bright white lights coming from above, I get headaches if I'm there for too long.
Okay.
So that's why office lighting needs to change.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think Dan Fredericks might be able to
help you with that.
Help you out with that issue. The two of you combined, you're going to have some very calm people, regardless of where they are. But no, it's a really interesting project, a really nice holistic approach to the issue of SAD.
Yeah, we should probably let you go before these lights give you a headache as well. So no, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your major project. We'll be back shortly with another major project. Welcome back to another major project, and we've got Toby coming up. So why are you there, Toby?
1 second. Just let me. Sorry. Cool. Hang on. Yeah, fine. Mind the mic. Oh, I'm not going to be a statistic.
There you
go. Look at that. Oh, this is terrifying.
How are you doing, Toby?
I'm terrified.
How did you get here today? You all right?
Okay, well, it's a stressful journey.
Okay.
I had a lot of navigational issues, but I'm here, I'm in one piece, I'm ready to talk about my major project.
That's good.
It's lovely to see you, Pam, as well.
No, thank you very much. Thank you. So you know what? Let's just get stuck straight in. Let's have a chat about your major project. Would you like to explain it to us?
Yeah, sure. So, fairly self-explanatory. It is a helmet. But I did play around with a couple of interesting concepts for my major project. Primarily, I was focusing on the idea of mass personalization and distributed manufacturing. Those two terms might not be familiar for people that aren't necessarily designers or designer ilk, but mass personalization is the idea that consumers want products specifically tailored to their individual needs. And that is it's tending that way in terms of consumer behaviour, away from kind of the mass-produced stuff. You think of Model T from Henry Ford, the idea of the production line. And distributed manufacture is again tending away from models like the production line towards a very localized areas of activity of manufacturing, and that is all being facilitated by huge advancements in cloud computing and stuff like the blockchain, which has become very trendy recently with NFTs and all this kind of stuff and Bitcoin. But my project is kind of centered around those two concepts, and it's heavily based in additive manufacture, because one of the easiest ways to ensure your product is kind of tailored to your individual needs, whether or not it's aesthetic tastes or form, whatever it might be, is with the use of additive manufacture. And again, we've already interviewed B and Moritz, and they've spoken about kind of changing certain parameters to fit certain needs, and that's something I've explored in this project as well.
I think you guys had similar briefs, didn't you?
So it stems from a single collaborative project, the brief of which was very broad, and it was kind of left up to us to define the direction we wanted to go in. For me, I chose to focus on the apparel sector, and that was the context for exploring both AM, DM, and MP. And in the case of the helmet, it's been explored kind of in shoes and coats and that kind of stuff. Companies like Nike and Adidas have kind of explored this, but they haven't really stemmed much past the aesthetics of a product. So yeah, you can change the color, you can change the change the styling, but with something like a helmet, the form is so critical to the function. The two are so heavily interlinked, and it's the same when you're designing for additive manufacture. You need to think about the best way to optimize your topology, the best way to orientate the part to ensure the best mechanical properties.
Yeah, I'm going to go back one step really quickly.
Take us back, rewind.
You said you decided to focus on apparel. Why did you, what was the inspiration for specifically going for a helmet, for example?
Yeah, I think it comes back to the idea that the function tying to the form hasn't really been explored in this context before. So again, yeah, you could change the color if you wanted on this one, and you can maybe make it kind of more to your taste, but you can do the same thing with stickers.
Yeah.
For me, this was more about ensuring that the helmet was ultimately fitted directly for the consumer, and it fit them in the best way possible to ensure the best protection possible. Yeah. This specific helmet, which the project I've called APTA, do not ask me why.
I will in a bit. So
okay.
Don't worry.
Understandable. It's centred for skateboarders. I was doing a little bit of research for the context of my project, and I discovered some interesting statistics about head and neck injuries. Specifically with regard to something like snowboarding. They have similar rates of concussion, both sports, but the rate of kind of serious, almost fatal head injuries is 54 times higher for skateboarders than it is in snowboards. And I thought that was an area that I could kind of explore and address maybe.
All right, no, fair. You've obviously touched on distributed manufacture and additive manufacture, and obviously with those requires certain material choices and decisions to be made.
Yes.
Could you talk us through the materials and kind of why you chose them for?
Yeah, materials and processes, sure. So this project was heavily based in fused deposition modelling or fused filament something. What's the other F stand for? I don't know.
That's a great question.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know the answer
B, if you're watching, I've stung myself with the same question I stung you with, and it's all my fault. But yeah, fused deposition modelling is the most accessible form of 3D printing, and it's been used in shop fronts and shop stores to facilitate this idea of mass personalisation. However, it's very restrictive in terms of the geometry you can make with it and the materials you can make with it. So a lot of work went into choosing the right materials for the process. So you have an auxetic liner, which is the red that you can see here, which is made out of a TPU thermoplastic elastomer, which ensures a flexible fit in the liner. And then I played a lot with cork polymer composites, CPCs, which are a really interesting branch of material science. They've not been fully explored in a product context yet. You see them quite a lot in more industrial applications, sort of sound and noise insulation. But when I did some further research on those and some testings on them, I kind of discovered that it was a viable alternative to expanded polystyrene liners that you find in more generic helmets. Mainly because it's better at absorbing multiple impacts. The integrity of the material it maintains itself for longer, and I thought that was really interesting.
Okay, no, it's really interesting. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to circle back to the question you don't want me to ask.
Circle back.
Is the name of your products.
The name of the product. Well, we've already explored Greek. I thought I'd go for another classical language. So no, not Welsh. That's not. No one goes to Oxford to study Welsh and Greek, Pav. It's come on now. Latin. So it stems from the Latin apta, which is play on kind of adaptable and fitted.
Okay.
And that's kind of what the product aims to do.
I think that's perfect because it just goes straight into
nice
the kind of core of what your project is.
Nice and catchy too.
Yeah.
Apta.
No.
Do you want to whisper that into camera?
Can we whisper it together?
Sure. You ready?
Into the primary camera?
3, 2, 1.
Apta. There we go. That's good. I'm happy with that.
Cool.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Toby, for coming on.
Not a problem. This has been really strange.
Yeah. No, I bet. We'll be back shortly with another major project. Welcome back to another major project. Another major project. We've got another Viva video coming up. It is the 4th Viva video, and it is for Paramveer's project Dampen. So that's going to play right now. Free items given out on planes have been reported as highly unhygienic, most notably headphones, whose foam ear cups are hardly ever changed unless torn. Single-use earphones provide a solution to this problem, but contribute towards a larger one surrounding sustainability. Confined spaces can be the perfect breeding ground for bacteria and other microorganisms, so both passengers and airlines must take safety precautions and follow hygiene guidelines. Airline-supplied headphones typically arrive in sealed plastic bags, giving users the impression that they are brand new. However, they are usually reused from a previous flight and have either been repackaged or, at most, sprayed with disinfectant spray. In 2017, it is estimated that the airline industry produced up to 5.7 million tonnes of cabin waste. Approximately 9.7% of cabin waste comprises electrical waste products, the majority of which is in-flight entertainment headsets. This is where dampen headphones come in, striving to achieve a more sustainable and hygienic flying experience. Dampen headphones can be reused many times by using replaceable water-soluble padding, providing an alternative solution to the existing IFE headphones on the market. The headsets are distributed to the passengers at the beginning of the flight and come packaged in a Kanga-style wrap that reduces a reliance on plastic bags. Dampen headphones feature an over-ear design and large audio drivers, providing passengers with better sound and comfort than existing IFE headsets. Once the flight has concluded, the headsets are collected up by the cabin crew and sent off for servicing. Dampen headphones are cleaned using the same process as seen with the used plates and trays from the flight. Once the headphones are brought off the plane, they are run through a dishwasher-like system. Soap and hot water dissolve the foam padding off the plastic base, followed by UV light treatment to ensure the headphones are sterile.
I can just see water now. There we go.
Once dry, new padding is fitted to the headphones, ready to be used again. The headphones' modular design allows individual parts to be replaced or repaired instead of disposed of, which in turn further reduces the amount of waste produced by the airline industry. Make sure your seats are in the upright position, your tray tables are stored away, and prepare for takeoff. Dampen has arrived. Thank you for watching.
And we're back after watching Pav's Viva presentation. Pav, awesome video. Tell me how you completed the testing to see how dirty these aeroplane headphones were.
Yeah, so what I did was I decided to just call up my friends who are medical students and thought, what's best for this? And they said, you should do a petri dish test because you can do it in your own room. You don't need to go to a lab or anything. So I ordered a bunch of petri dishes online, and then I ordered a bunch of aeroplane headphones from eBay because I couldn't get on a plane to get them because of COVID. And I just sat there swabbing them for a while and put them on a petri dish. And I basically left them for about 2 weeks to just grow just different kinds of bacteria. And I got to tell you, there were some really disgusting results. I think the worst ones were my own personal headphones, because obviously they'd been in my ears properly. But it was actually quite shocking because the headphones themselves came in packaging, and you would assume that they are clean based on the packaging. But they're actually not. There was, I think, on the in-ear headphones, there was yeast on the inside of the packaging, and there was an actual kind of like a bacteria or a fungus on like British Airways and the Virgin Atlantic ones. So that's from my finding.
That's encouraging.
So that's not. I'm not slandering any company there. That's just what I found with the ones I ordered on eBay.
That was quantitative,
Yes.
it's not an opinion.
Yeah.
Pav, you're one of the few students that have managed to produce a final prototype,
Yes.
final model. How did you do it?
I produced it thanks to the workshops on campus, primarily Stanley in the digital fabrication lab.
Stan the man.
Stan the man. So my project is modular, as we stated earlier today. I do love modularity, and it has a lot of fine detail. So I wanted it to be 3D printed because I was mainly focusing on the aesthetics and the mechanism there, and the 3D print will allow me to do that. I was planning to do a electronic model separately that would allow me to test the electrics, but I primarily wanted to focus on the aesthetic one. I thought 3D printing was the best. Stanley hooked me up, got me on the Stratus machine.
As he always does, yeah.
It came out beautifully. A lot of people have commented on the finish of my product. Apparently it's really nice. It honestly looks, I'd like to think, pretty professional. I've managed to kind of smooth out a lot of the lines. So I spent a long time in my kitchen just kind of, sanding down and spray painting really and making my hands blue. So yeah, it's a good time.
It's a good time. I'm going to take the viewers behind the scenes a little bit as well, because your video that we've just seen, there's quite a fun story behind this, isn't there?
Yes,
the way you
there
filmed it, the original plans for it, and how you had to quickly kind of pivot and change. So just give us a brief insight into that.
Yes, so in the video I am in a plane, or it looks like it, and the original plan was to go onto an actual plane, and just take some shots. But unfortunately, because of COVID and all that kind of stuff, I can't really get onto a plane. So I had to ring around a lot of places, and I eventually found the jet company who sell private jets, and their showroom conveniently looks like a private jet, the inside of a private jet. So I asked Alex, who's currently sitting behind the camera, to pop down to Park Lane with me. And we went into their showroom for about an hour or two, and we just shot the entire thing in there. It looks pretty bougie, it looks very realistic as well. The screens move in the background, and I think it just adds a bit more realism to the video and gives it a bit more, it gives it a bit more, it verifies it a bit.
Yeah, it's really nice seeing an actual physical model in the specific context that it's designed to be used in, with the restrictions we've got. One last question for you. Your name does a very good job of tying together the not your name, the product name. Does a very good job of tying together damp and noise and obviously the water soluble thing. So how did you come up with Clampen? Because I believe it's Welsh, is it not?
Clampen. Yes, Clampen is no. It is dampen because, as you've just said, it is to do with the water and also the sound dampening as well, because they do have noise cancelling. But the initial name for them, have I told you the initial name?
I don't think so, no.
They originally, before I settled on dampen, I wanted to call them Altitunes.
Altitunes.
Yeah.
Altitunes is good.
I can't say if that's a better name or a worse name, but
I know.
Altitunes.
If people are watching, we can get them to vote and see. Awesome. Really nice project, Pav.
Thank you very much.
Great to talk to you. See you on this side of the desk. I see you in a whole new light now.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back in just a moment for another student project.
That was a good trip. I'm now back where I should be, on this side of the desk.
Normal service has resumed.
Yes. That's good. Next up we've got Alex and his project, but first we have his Viva presentation video. So that was Alex's Viva presentation video, and I think that he got a great use out of this hand model right here for the bit where I'm trying to...
That was the best bit.
No, thank you very much, yeah. Yeah, Alex, I loved your animation in your video.
Thank you.
What software did you use to create it in, and how long did it take you? Because it's just beautiful.
Thank you, yeah. No, they were done in Keyshots,
Okay.
Of course.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was about 2 weeks of work, I'd say, for the animations.
Okay.
And if I wanted to do it on my laptop, I think it was about 160 hours of rendering it would have taken. But I sent it off to a render farm.
Oh, you did, okay.
And yes, it was much more efficient in terms of its rendering time.
Well, I think it paid off. It's beautifully cinematic. Music works perfectly with it, so no, well done, honestly. Yeah, no, there was also a lot of ideation in your video as well. And I know that there was a couple of pictures potentially on your board that I have seen of you doing like iterative models. You know, what made you decide on your final shape, and how many models did you kind of go through?
Yeah, so obviously there's quite a technical aspect to it, but I wanted it to sort of keep the form and function development equal. So keeping the form was important for me when I was going through deciding how the camera and all the components inside should work, and then how they fit into the actual product itself. And one of the challenges was that the camera angle needs to be looking down to get the perspective on the document itself.
Yeah.
And that can create quite a negative sort of emotion from the product. So it was trying to keep that downwards angle, but still making it look happy or friendly or welcoming. So that was why there was so many. It was about a month of just sketching, foam modelling, 3D printing to try and find the right look for it, essentially.
Alex has just seen my face go like this, and I saw it. He was like, "Hang on, what's he got?" It's just hit me what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
The little Pixar lamplight. It's got that same kind of playful energy thing going on without being.
I mean,
kind of...
I've also had it looks like a nun before. It's been told that.
I'm sticking with the Pixar lamp.
Pixar lamp.
Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah.
I did just want to bring something to your attention. Obviously, we've got the book, lovely book. The team, there you go, hold it up one more time. The team spent a lot of time kind of proofreading it and making sure everything was okay and up to snuff. However, something snuck in. You've actually misspelt view in your title.
I didn't realise. Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, well, the name was. I mean, I had the product and I couldn't think of a name. I actually got pretty much everyone in my family trying to come up with names for it, and I didn't want to go down the route of a Latin or a Greek or Welsh name, as you discussed. I think, sometimes they can be overused, but I wanted a name that was a bit more sort of reflective of what it was, but simple, not kind of tacky in any way. So maybe, not iView, for example.
iView.
As Apple, I would have loved to have done that, but you just can't. So I think it was simple enough, and it gets across kind of what the product does.
Yeah. Hang on. No. Okay. No.
Did you not hear that?
I heard that. That's why I know.
iView.
iView. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
One thing I want to touch on, as you just brought it up, really, is I haven't really considered it before. I don't even know if it's a proper name for it, but kind of emotive design.
Yeah.
You went for. Yeah. You wanted it to look happy and it's still happy.
There were some prototypes I had in foam where you look at it and it looks sad. Yeah. Or it looked like it was almost depressed. Like it was looking head down kind of thing. Yeah. And that was a real challenge because the camera, I needed that 15-degree angle to look down. And so, it was a real challenge. Originally it was much longer and making it more upright and almost a little bit more humanoid without going full sort of body and head and shoulders. Just made sure that sort of emotion was a positive one rather than being negative. Yeah.
I think it's a criminally underrated kind of aspect of design, especially with something that's so, it's designed to be on a desk, like almost constantly. It's something you're looking at, staring at, interacting with. And I think it's super, super important that you get that right connection. So.
I mean, it's not.
Good job.
Again, I don't even know if it is called emotive design. It's not something I've heard about.
I mean, it sounds right.
It sounds
like a designy term.
Yeah. It sounds like a module, to be honest.
It does. Emotive design.
Yeah. Gabriella might be able to shed some light.
I'm sure I've heard it in car design, actually, emotive design, because that's quite emotionally
automotive.
Automotive.
There you go. There you go. There's another one.
And on that note, we will end. Thank you so much, Alex, for coming on and showing your product. Yes. We'll be back shortly with the final product of this half of MIB TV. We're back with Ollie and his major project, and I think at this point he's like the 12th MIB member to go on because we've just had 3 in a row.
We're nearly. I think. Have we got? I'll just check the schedule quickly.
Only a couple more.
Only a couple more. Only a couple more.
Yeah. Anyway, Ollie has a Viva presentation video, which he's going to play right now.
Every day, the lives of 3 families are devastated by the death of a loved one to an asthma attack. It has been found that there are major avoidable factors in 2/3 of those that die of asthma. Asthma affects 5.4 million, or every 1 in 12 adults in the UK, and around 3.5 million asthma sufferers are not receiving primary asthma care. In 2020, basic asthma levels dropped for the first time in 8 years. Adults are obligated to self-manage their condition, but without adequate guidance from an asthma nurse or a GP, this can become very challenging. Patients require annual review with their asthma nurse to ensure their medication is working and that it is being administered effectively. However, between appointments, patients and GPs remain in the dark over their condition. There is a lack of remote solutions to help adults manage their asthma. Without adequate personalised management, patients' conditions will worsen, which lowers their quality of life and can be life-threatening. Asthma costs the NHS £1.1 billion annually, of which 132 million alone is spent on hospital care, due in part to mismanaged asthma. Azine is a smart asthma management system that builds on decades of research into asthma management. Azine consists of a smart inhaler and peak flow meter that can communicate with a companion app, which digitizes data and creates a personalized and user-friendly system that covers all asthma management needs. Azine focuses on 3 main areas: effectively administering inhaled medication, measuring and tracking peak expiratory flow, and monitoring user triggers. These key areas help improve patients' quality of life and significantly reduce the risk of an asthma attack. Azine can administer both dry powder inhalers and pressurized metered dose inhalers, preventer and reliever inhalers, all in one device. By reminding users when to take their medication, Azine can help improve patient adherence rates. Up to 92% of patients are believed to misuse their inhalers. Azine's app prompts users to check their inhaler technique every 3 months to ensure they correctly inhale their medication. Azine also offers peak expiratory flow functionality. By changing out the mouthpiece, the user can measure their peak expiratory flow rate, or peak flow. The companion app displays data over time. The user can see if their condition is improving or deteriorating over time and contact their GP if necessary. Azine comes in a charging case that keeps the device fully charged when not in use. The device itself has a battery life of up to 2 weeks. The charging case stores all the device parts when not in use. It can hold the main device, a peak flow mouthpiece, a dry powder inhaler mouthpiece, and a pressurized metered dose inhaler mouthpiece. The case also carries 2 drug canisters, 1 preventer canister and 1 reliever. The different mouthpieces can be easily inserted and removed from the main body, allowing for quick administration in an emergency. The open back enables the mouthpieces to be easily pushed out, making it an easy-to-use, unobtrusive device. The app holds a lot of additional functionality. One of the key areas is triggers. User research showed that 80% of participants had an asthma attack in the last year, and a known trigger caused 70% of these. Azine allows users to enter their asthma triggers and track them based on available data. The app also features a peak flow diary, daily overview, virtual checkup, drug subscription, medication diary, inhaler techniques, and advice. The peak flow diary allows users to view their readings over time and add in a new reading when prompted. The user profile enables data to be viewed on multiple devices, receive data from third-party apps, and share data with the user's local GP. The daily overview creates a snapshot of their day, showing triggers that may be a risk and showing a list of tasks to complete. The virtual checkup asks questions similar to those asked in an annual asthma review. These monthly checkups show the user where they may need to improve. The triggers help users add and manage their triggers and show potential irritants that the user should be cautious of. Drug subscriptions manages the user's medication and shows the next delivery date. Inhaler technique is always available for users to refresh their technique, and the advice page allows users to ask questions in 3 different avenues, including Azine's very own smart assistant. Azine will benefit both asthma sufferers and GPs. With much more patient data available, both GPs and the patients will have a much better idea of how well their asthma is managed, allowing GPs to analyse and respond with the most suitable treatment.
So I thought that was a great video, Ollie. I noticed one thing you did note in your video was that a lot of asthma sufferers misuse their inhaler.
Yeah.
Do you know why that is?
Yeah, it's a big problem with chronic diseases because you have to, especially with inhalers, you have to use them probably once, twice a day. And you'll see a doctor once a year and they'll tell you how to do it and to use a proper technique. But during that time, over a course of 6 months, you can completely forget how to do it. Completely doing the action over and over again just basically causes you over time to forget how to do it properly. I myself, when researching this, realised that I was misusing my inhaler properly. And I'm doing a whole project on it. So it was quite interesting. And I've always thought I've had pretty well-controlled asthma. So finding out that I'm actually been doing it wrong myself is quite interesting.
Okay. So it's had like a knock-on effect in your everyday life.
Yeah, and I incorporated this into the app side of it quite a lot, about having it remind you every so often to, hey, check your technique, make sure you're doing it right. And there's a whole subsection in the app where there are inhaler technique videos, and you can go and check your technique.
Well, I was actually just about to ask about that because yesterday we had the Made in Brunel Awards live on IGTV, and we had the award for Best App-Assisted Project that you won. Well done, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Why did you choose to supplement your product with an app?
There's a lot of features in asthma management, and especially in smart asthma management, which was what I was looking at. And you need to be able to know how to use your inhaler, where your inhaler is. You need in the smart asthma world, you need your inhaler to know what's going on, but then you also need all those additional features. And the app holds a lot of functionality, not including the stuff that the inhaler has. So you can track your user triggers. So I personally get triggered by pollen and dust. So you can put those triggers in to the page, and when the pollen count is really high, it will alert you, say, hey, grass pollen is really high today, don't forget to take your inhaler with you. And then there's a lot of other features in that. It's got weather built in, so you don't have to go about, but there's also a whole community page. I found out when doing a lot of my primary research that a lot of people go to online forums, and they have a lot of their questions they just direct to like a community instead of to a doctor. So I included a whole aspect on there where there's a whole community forum section. And for more serious questions, you can also talk to a medical expert.
Awesome project. Really, really nice. And a very catchy name.
Thank you.
What does it mean?
It's Greek.
Of course it's Greek.
There we go.
Love it.
It's pronounced Azine, although I was pronouncing it Azayan for about 2 weeks before I realised I was wrong. And it's basically just where the word asthma comes from. It means to breathe hard when you run. It's just the original.
What, just that one word?
Yeah, it means to
breathe hard when you
run.
Okay.
To be fair, the Greeks were always kind of running about, weren't they? Marathons, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You probably needed a quicker way of saying, you're breathing hard after that run.
And I googled it, and no one's used it yet, so
awesome.
Felt like
that's even better.
I know.
Yeah.
No one at all. It's incredible.
Is there a reason for that, do you think?
Hopefully not.
Okay. Other than the fact that it's maybe a bit hard to pronounce, but other than that, it's all right. Thank you very much, Ollie, for coming on and talking about your product. Really appreciate it. That's it for this half of MIB TV. We've got through all the major projects in the first half.
We've got one half to go.
We've got one half to go of MIB TV. That's it. Yeah. So make sure you tune in for that. We'll be back at 3. We'll be back at 3. Yeah, and then from 3 to 4, we're going to have our remaining major projects, and then from 4 onwards, you're going to have some student-led programming. So we'll see how that goes. But have a good lunch, and we'll see you a bit later at 3 o'clock.
Welcome back to what is officially the last segment of MIB TV for the Above the Fold showcase at the Barge House. Pav, how are you feeling?
Sad.
It's been quite a journey. It's been quite a journey. We've really been getting into it. All the students thus far have been phenomenal. Their work's been phenomenal, and it's been great to see some of the other features as well. But yeah, we're going to start with some student interviews. Firstly with Kalani.
Hello.
Kalani, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
How have you enjoyed the showcase so far?
It's been great, yeah. Not quite our normal circumstances for the showcase, but I think everyone's done a really good job. It's been a real success. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you're enjoying it. But tell us a little bit about your project Mono.
So, Mono is a integrated guitar system for beginners and hobbyists. The project kind of stemmed from personal experience of learning guitar when I was young, then giving up, years going by, picking up the guitar again, not knowing really where to start. So I found through my research that Beginners and hobbyists make up about 45% of total sales per year. However, 90% of those players will give up within the year, if not the first 3 months. So Mono kind of aims to tackle that issue and keep users engaged from the very onset of learning. So generally, electric guitar players will use effects to change their sound to sound like the players they want to, like the players or bands that they like. But that is quite a difficult thing to access, as it requires some kind of understanding of electronics to power these things, and kind of amplifiers and effects combined are quite bulky systems. So this kind of aims to improve the portability and accessibility for those users.
Awesome, really cool. So this is on your board there, you've got kind of like 3 components lined out. So how do the elements of the system kind of work together? Give us a little bit of a breakdown on how it all works.
Yeah, so over here we've got a wireless signal transmitter. So that's plugged into the guitar and will send the signal to the mobile app, which is then used to configure your personal sounds, which you can combine, change the order to suit whatever sounds you want, to sound like the bands you like. You can connect with friends who share their sounds based on bands they like. You can connect through that. You can then use that to configure how you use the controller, which is used with your feet, so you're not interrupting your guitar playing. So you can use then the controller in either a navigation mode, so the switch on the left would be to go back an effect, the one in the middle would be to turn the current effect on or off, then the switch on the right is to go to the next effect. Or you can use it as an ABC, so you can always set presets, so you can combine sounds, assign them to each switch. So say if you're playing along to a song that has different sounds throughout, you can kind of cue those and turn them on and off if and when you want to. The dial at the top is also a pressable button, so you can use that to change parameters within the app. So what you're doing with the board will be kind of relayed in the app, so you're not going to keep going back to your phone, you can do it on the go with your device on the floor.
Sure, awesome, really cool.
I know that your project was one of the first ones to be shared on the Instagrams.
Yes.
And I can see why, 'cause it's a very striking design. It's quite minimal and clean. Could you talk us a little bit through why you've chosen that kind of modern aesthetic? And
I think it stemmed from kind of effects pedals and amplifiers haven't really changed since their invention really in the mid 20th century. They've got quite old vintage looks to all of them. Some pedals I own personally haven't changed since the 70s. They use the same tried and tested cases. So I kind of wanted this to invite a kind of new generation of players. So people who can look at kind of the existing systems and not really know where to begin. Give them something that is quite clean, minimal, inviting, and kind of up to date, I guess.
Awesome. So, I mean, I am kind of at best maybe like a campfire guitarist and a bad one at that. But I have kind of played live and things like this in the past. And I'm just wondering, you know, playing live and kind of practicing in your room, kind of quite different things. Obviously, if you're on stage, things need to be a bit durable. I was just wondering what considerations you made at all, or maybe some further development for the product with regard to that kind of use case.
Yeah, so I found through research that 2/3 of players aren't interested in kind of playing to audiences. It's more a personal thing to develop life skills, or to play to small select groups of friends or family. So the system is designed for kind of personal practice use. But the design itself has gone through kind of stress analysis to make sure they can withstand the force of being kind of interacted by your foot all the time. So it's kind of built with a die cast enclosure to withstand those forces. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And how did you go about testing that all working together?
So a lot of the quantitative testing was done through CAD.
Okay.
So use SolidWorks to do FEA testing and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do that.
Yeah, I was SolidWorks FEA for mine.
Similar.
I didn't try and venture into ANSYS.
No.
That drives me up the wall. That software.
Yeah. No, fair. I think finally we just want to touch on the name Mono.
Okay.
Why Mono?
So meaning one, single. So it's kind of one entire system to do what it needs to do.
I think simple, clean,
nice and clean. Yeah. I saw the capitalisation. I thought maybe it was an acronym for something, but
no, not just stylistically capitalised.
Got to make it look good. Got to make it look good and sound good. I think that's actually quite a good tagline. It sounds good. Car effects box.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We should just start doing taglines for people now.
I think we're a bit late to that. We've got 5 more people to
go. We could do it for the 5, so
maybe.
No, thank you very much, Kalani, for coming on. We really appreciate you sharing your major project with us. We'll be back shortly with another project.
Welcome back to MIB TV. This time we're joined by Lou on the couch, on the sofa, on the bench, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Graham Norton-esque kind of dealio over there.
Yeah.
Lou, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you both?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad considering it's what, 3:10 in the afternoon?
Yeah.
All right. How have you been enjoying the showcase so far?
I've really enjoyed it. It's been nice just to even catch up with people because I haven't seen some people for like 2 years now, so it's been lovely.
2 years. All right. Take 5.
I just thought about it.
But yeah, no, we brought you in today to talk a little bit about your major project. So the mic, the stage, the bench is yours.
Thank you. So my major project was called Wonder, and it's an app which enhances the online shopping experience of cosmetics. It's also a plugin as well, so for safer on a desktop as well. So essentially it's an app which connects users together to recommend different products to each other, and also it's got AI in the app, so to recommend specific products for the users as well.
Awesome. So talk to us about the framework then, how the user navigates through.
Okay, so it's a really simple sort of onboarding experience, and at the start it's already personalised to the user, so asking what's brought them to the app, sort of what they want to get from the app as well, and what sort of makeup they're interested in, just to kind of get a feel of things. And then there's like community aspects, sort of explore pages and stuff within the app, and also a profile where you can input your skin concerns, skin type and stuff as well.
Oh, right, okay. Obviously, I enjoy branding and everything. Could you talk a little bit more about how you brand it, why you brand it, what you did and stuff?
So I wanted to use sort of skin tone sort of colours within the app, instead of the classic sort of pink for like cosmetics. It's kind of stereotypically like girly sort of thing. So I wanted it to be a bit more inclusive. So I went for more sort of neutral sort of skin tones with a little bit of pink, just for just got to do it. And and I really like it actually. I wanted to make sure it's a really inclusive app, like I said.
So how did you go about ensuring that then?
So I wanted to, for example, in any imagery or anything like that, I just wanted just an accurate representation of like today's society, and there's a little bit on the app sort of like about black-owned businesses and LGBTQ plus businesses as well, to make it a really inclusive and environmentally on the app.
Okay. From the business side of things, is this the kind of app that would you like partner with other companies, whether retailers or cosmetic brands?
So essentially I'd want sort of brands to be included within the app, so maybe they pay to be showcased on the app, or whether it be affiliated links. So when you click, so you can't buy directly from the app, but it will take you to different websites and options where you can purchase it from. So that could be a way of making a bit of money for them as well.
Okay. Fair.
So it's one of the very few projects that we've seen that is entirely app-based, entirely digitally based. And I was just wondering whether or not that was something you were intrigued with from the off, something you were interested in right from the beginning, or how it evolved?
It wasn't where I was starting, but it's where I ended up. And I think because of the way the world at the moment, like workshops and stuff, I knew an app would be a safer route to go down. And I've never done an app before. Like my placement was all visual merchandising, so very much in-store stuff rather than digital. So this is the first time using XD or anything, so just taught myself how to use it and stuff. But it wasn't the initial route I was going to go down, but I'm glad I did,
So you did like various research that took you down there. Can you tell us why you were led to an app now?
I think because an app is something you can use in-store as well, like because at the moment obviously all tested are removed from in-store, so it could be used when shopping in-store or when shopping online as well, and it's also a plug-in for the desktop as well. So I think I just wanted something that could be used anywhere.
So a kind of seamless experience.
Yeah.
Right, okay. That's cool.
You mentioned your placement was in VM.
Yes.
So what kind of common ground was there between your experiences with physical VM and the way you kind of design the interface, would they have influence on one another?
It definitely did have an influence, I think, because you can, from VM, you can see how people kind of shop in store and what their eyes are drawn to, and how to sort of market to people and like to encourage them to buy their products in store. So there's an element of this within the app from what I could bring to it. And I've also worked within the beauty industry for the past 5 years now. So I've worked on counters myself, so I wanted to see how I could bring that sort of in-store experience online as well. So yeah, I think it all kind of flowed into one really. But
so a lot of primary research then?
A lot of primary research, yeah. It's kind of my own sort of knowledge, and then I think a lot of primary research went into this,
I think the final question is, why Wonder?
Why Wonder? What, the name? Or? Yeah, I think, well, there's so many names, but I thought, were you wondering?
Give us a few. Give us a few.
I can't even remember now. It was so long ago. No, my mind's gone blank.
It's all right.
Just when you're wondering what products are right for you, or wondering what your friends are using, and just I came to it. And it was also, it was wondering whether I could call it like Wonder, like the name, so you could like ask Wonder, but I thought I went with Wonder instead. Yeah.
No, that's pretty cool. Yeah. No, thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you sharing your major project. We'll be back shortly with another major project.
Thank you for joining us on MIB TV once more. This time we're back with our penultimate MIB team member, Alison. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. How was setup and the show been so far for you?
I felt like I was missing out a little bit with setup because I had to travel quite a long way and didn't get here until the day before the show started, but it was still definitely a workout, very sweaty.
Yeah, it was baking hot, but weather aside, we're here to talk about your major project.
10.
Yes.
Weather aside.
10, weather aside. We're here to talk about a major project, so please give us an idea of what you've been up to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I spent my 12 months of placement with a well-known cosmetics company based in London, and I did a lot of work in visual merchandise and point of sale and window displays and boutique designs and things like that, and I noticed that there was a very big opportunity to help reduce the amount of energy consumption, material wasted and carbon emissions in window design specifically. So I designed a service-based solution, which is a trio of deliverables consisting of a set of guidelines, a sustainable label and an incentive software called Sustain Me.
Oh, okay. So how would this work then? How would you interact with it?
So it applies to several different groups within the company that I worked for. The guidelines were based or intended for the in-house designers who worked on the window displays themselves, and it gives suggestions on what materials to use and sustainable packaging, methods of manufacturing, and also materials that can help to disperse light with LEDs so they don't have to use as many, thus reducing energy consumption. And then the second thing was the sustainable label, which is made out of recycled marble sin paper. So it's a lot more sustainable, it requires a lot less water and uses waste mining materials. So it's a very cool kind of up and coming material in the sustainability world. And that label is placed by designers and manufacturers onto the aspects of the shop window displays that are recyclable, so that then after the campaign is finished and the shop workers who are taking apart those displays can see those labels on the on certain parts of it and certain materials, they know to differentiate those from the ones that are not sustainable so that they can be recycled. And the whole goal of the incentive program entitled Sustain Me is to change the behaviour of those shop workers who are very used to just taking everything and putting it into a skip. So it's very much to just sort of help them to understand the impact that that's having on the environment, and it's a really good way for them to sort of to use this system within their point of sale tills and win prizes through it. So they basically insert their disposals into the software, into their account on the POS till, and their disposals then verified by their line manager. And as soon as that's been done, then the next point will turn green once it's been verified on their progress. And as soon as they've finished all 15 of their disposals, then they can redeem it for a prize from the company.
Ah, that's quite cool. Awesome. Yeah. Really interesting. So, system design is something that we, in terms of the course, is not covered in a great deal of depth. And I'm just wondering how you approached designing the system and how it maybe differs from a product-based solution.
Absolutely. To be honest, I was actually hoping at the beginning of the year that I would come out with a product-based solution because I'm on the product design engineering course, which obviously means it should be very technical, and it's technical but in a very different way. So I think that the knowledge of the design process after having worked there for 12 months definitely gave me this view of the system in a way that the average person, of course, doesn't know. And it almost gave me the ability that in the future I think I would be able to go to other companies and say, look, this is what I've done here. Can I spend a few weeks working with your team, just understanding the design process and understanding where the problems are with individual groups within your team, and use that information and that research to come up with a solution based around specifically your company's design process.
I think this is the key thing, isn't it? Because you can take your knowledge of your technical aspects, and then you can take your knowledge from your placement, for example, and you can combine them into something such as service design, which maybe isn't directly taught, but something that you can extrapolate and kind of form into a product and stuff. So yeah, no, it's really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about the kind of idea behind like gamifying it and the reward system?
Absolutely. So I used a type of innovation which was partly behavioural change and also partly along the lines of something that currently exists in the company but is being used in a new department and in a different way. So I knew already that incentives were being used in sales to try and get the shop workers to sell more bottles of fragrance or more lipsticks, etc. And I knew this because during my placement year I'd been designing some of them for the shop workers. So I'd also heard from other employees and other members of staff that they knew that they were very successful and that the shop workers absolutely love working extra hard to win prizes. So I immediately just went, brilliant, I can definitely use that, an incentive to get them to change their behaviour, and I know it's going to be effective because it already is successful in another department.
Yeah, no, really cool.
Awesome. I wouldn't know where to begin with something like this. So it's for me, it's really interesting looking at it with I can't even articulate it. That's how impressed I am. I can't even articulate it. We mentioned earlier you were on the product design engineering course, and obviously we've seen in other projects how people have kind of got the engineering aspect with stuff like FEA and stress analysis and this kind of thing.
Definitely.
How did you shoehorn that into this project?
It's a very hidden part of my project. It's not really as visible in anywhere as much as it is in the dissertation. In order to actually find out what kind of an effect my service was going to have on the window displays for this company, I completed some life cycle assessments using Granta EduPack, which we learned in the environmentally sustainable design module. And in order to do that, I had to calculate all of the volumes, all of the materials, and kind of everything that went into the physical window display, which was very many components, very many types of materials and everything like that. So I think my logbook is something like 20 pages of calculations handwritten in order to calculate all of that. So that's definitely the hidden engineering side of the project, I would say.
Awesome. I think that's the same case with a lot of projects. Is on the surface it looks fairly simple, but then behind it there's a lot of theory and a lot of testing and stuff. So and that very much got me to the final figures of for the most recent campaign that I had done applied the life cycles to. I found that using the service and changing the materials would reduce the energy consumption by 39% and the carbon footprint by 52% just for one window display, which I thought was a really good impact. Awesome. Now, well done. Thank you very much for coming on and sharing your major project. We'll be back in a minute with another major project. We're back with another major project, and we're back with another Viva presentation video. We've got Jay here with his project. Here is his project video.
Motion sickness is one of the most common effects of modern travel, with 1/3 of people globally suffering from nauseogenic and disorienting symptoms during travel. This continues to affect the daily lives of millions of commuters and passengers who frequently use terrestrial modes of transport to get to work, travel around town, and meet friends and family. There are over 9 million daily commuters in the UK alone. With an average commute time of between 30 to 60 minutes, many travellers are left with facing the constant unease of motion sickness symptoms every day. This not only has a large impact on the health and well-being of passengers, it also impacts their ability to perform key activities while on the go. The most common method of prevention is through the use of over-the-counter medicine, designed to prevent the onset of symptoms before they arise. However, medicinal prevention has shown to cause a myriad of possible side effects that continue to linger well after travel. There is a need for a more reliable method of prevention that gives daily passengers the relief from motion sickness symptoms and allows them to perform the key activities they desire without negative side effects. Meet Horizon. Horizon is a pair of smart augmented reality glasses that overlay a virtual horizon onto the user's natural view of the environment. The virtual horizon works by mimicking the position and orientation of the real-world horizon during motion. This provides the user's visual system with accurate live data on their spatial acceleration and orientation, removing the sensory mismatch processed by the central nervous system and preventing the effects of nausea and disorientation. The glasses utilize a 9-axis absolute orientation sensor to accurately calculate the angle, acceleration, and positional vector of the user's head movement in real time. This data is then processed by the onboard microcontroller and converted into an optical output that moves the position of the virtual horizon. A low-powered laser projects the horizon onto a holographic grading within the lens of the glasses, before reflecting back onto the retina of the user. This allows the overlaid image to always be in focus and continuously update in real time. The glasses house the components necessary for AR implementation into the two main arm chambers. Taking a closer look at the right arm, this comprises of the main PCB with the main processing chip, wireless module, orientation sensor, microphone, and bone conduction speaker. It also houses the optical drive used for projecting the image onto the lens. The left chamber houses the battery and charging module that powers the device, which is connected to the main PCB via a flexible ribbon cable that passes through the main frame from the left chamber to the right. The visual effects of the horizon can be explained using the three main types of head movement: pitch, roll, and yaw. When isolating a pitch movement, the horizon line translates vertically in the opposite direction across the lens of the glasses, as this is what the user would normally see if the real-world horizon was visible. Similarly for roll movements, the horizon maintains the same degree of tilt, but in the opposite direction. This is necessary to always maintain a horizontal horizon, since the original axis of the glasses would be moving with the user. For yaw movement, the horizon stays stationary in both the horizontal and vertical axes. However, spatial movement can still be experienced by mimicking the effect of motion blur. This is done using horizontal peripheral cues that move across the lens when under acceleration. This sense of speed from left to right provides enough information to the brain to fill in the gaps in sensory input and prevent motion sickness from arising.
So that was Jay's project, Horizon. Jay, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good as well, so that's good. What made you focus on tackling motion sickness? Is it something that you or someone close to you experienced?
Yeah, so I actually experience motion sickness quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I get it on pretty much every mode of transport, well, land transport.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's something quite close to me. And through research, I realized that, 1/3 of the global population suffers from motion sickness, which is a really huge percentage when you think about it. And so, yeah, I thought, okay, well, what do people do now to tackle that?
Yeah.
And all there really is as a great means of tackling that is over-the-counter medicine. but obviously this can lead to a bunch of different side effects that aren't necessarily good for the human body. You tend to feel fatigued, disoriented. You can even get nauseous yourself from taking motion sickness medicine.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so I wanted to design something that was a bit more effective, based more on sort of a scientific foundation, and something that can work for a lot of people and integrate into their lives a lot better than medicine does.
I'm guessing you brought your own experiences to this
Definitely.
and used that as like primary research. Yeah,
Definitely.
Okay, and like, how did you like kind of prototype under lockdown? How did you kind of?
Yeah, so obviously that was really difficult, not having access to workshops and stuff. So there were two sort of things that I did. Obviously CAD became a big element of prototyping, especially for designing the main frames of the glasses and how all the different components would integrate into that. Because obviously I've designed smart augmented reality glasses, so this includes a lot of high-tech components.
Yeah.
But what I was able to do was prototype the electronics at home. So I bought a lot of sort of Arduino kits and gyroscopes and accelerometers that were required to create this virtual horizon.
Yeah.
And I was able to set that up at home and code everything myself to get it working how it would do in the real product.
Oh, right, okay.
Some really cool idea, a refreshing take on how to combat something like this. How did you go about researching kind of like the perception element of it? Obviously, we as humans perceive things and feel things very differently on an individual level. So how did the research impact the development of the product in that sense?
So I did a lot of research into scientific papers, clinical trials, things that can back up and validate what I wanted to do. And a lot of these showcase that there's a few different what I call behavioral methods that you can tackle motion sickness. And one of the ones that was the most effective, which is what I went for, is providing the user with extra visual information that sort of synchronizes the different sensory inputs your body gets, and this stops you from feeling motion sick. And one of the main clinical trials that I used showcased that doing this sort of technique can reduce nausea by up to 400% compared to a placebo.
Oh, wow.
Which is really amazing. And so that sort of kick-started the process of where I wanted to go with this. And then in terms of sort of finding out how to best visualize data for showing the horizon itself, I did a lot of sort of color theory techniques, data visualization techniques, and things like this that are showcased in augmented reality products at the moment, and sort of porting that over to a more usable design.
Awesome, and I've got to ask as well, just quickly, because you've got a very complex internal mechanism there, and the way you've chosen to visualize that, certainly on that board there, is kind of like the X-ray effect, which is something I also used on my helmet. So is that something you did as well with the X-ray?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I think it's a really good way to sort of showcase, especially a complex product, showing internal components, and I guess it allows people to better understand how something works without necessarily having to explain every single part of the process and every single part of the product. And so I think also nowadays with glasses you tend to find so many sort of clear aesthetic that people are going for, and I think it fits this design really well.
So is this to show the internal components, or is this a clear version of your product?
This is both.
Oh, it's both. Oh, okay. There you go.
I'd two birds with one stone, right there.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, perfect. Absolutely perfect. No, thank you very much, Jay, for coming on.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate you sharing your major project. We'll be back with our final two major projects in a bit.
Welcome back to our penultimate interview for student major projects, and also our last MIB team member, Enya. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Not so bad. How has the showcase been for you thus far?
Yeah, the show's been really good actually. I feel like I've met lots of alumni and industry people, a few like familiar faces who we saw on our open days when we were joining, who now have like really good jobs in like industry and stuff, which has been really good. See lots of people's parents, lots of really cool projects. Yeah, very inspiring so far.
Wonderful. Well, tell us a little bit about your project.
Yeah, of course. So Refillery Research looks to address the fact that lower income consumers, specifically in Indonesia, but this also applies to a lot of other countries, have no access to a refill solution for personal care products. What tends to happen is a lower income consumer who's literally getting their wages paid daily in cash will go and buy a 10 milliliter sachet of shampoo or conditioner from their favourite brands, for like Unilever and Procter & Gamble, because they can't afford to buy a bottle in a week, so it's always the sachets they buy. Then they use it, and then there's horrendous waste infrastructure in Indonesia. So then once they've used the sachet, they discard it onto the floor, and then it doesn't get collected because it's worth nothing to recycling centres. So we've got this epidemic of sachets just accumulating in the environment because there's no alternative for these really poor consumers. So this solution tries to help sort of alleviate that and provide a solution.
Okay. Awesome. What kind of inspires you to go down this route?
So I took up a brief put up by Fabrizio, one of the lecturers, asking to somehow reduce plastic pollution in Indonesia through a reusable packaging system. So I started looking at food, I looked at tourism, travel, lots of different things, and then I stumbled across, I think it was a Thomson Reuters article about the horrendous situation with all the sachets, and that really got me onto that, thinking, oh well, if I can afford a refill system, it should mean that everyone should be able to, have access to one. It shouldn't just be for middle class people. So.
Awesome. So, how does it work?
Okay, so
talk us through it.
It's a modular system. So each module, each module has 4 different product options in it, and you basically are taken through the whole system by Risa. So she's sort of the mascot who guides people through. As self-service in Indonesia still, it's just not really a thing. People don't really like it, so you really need to introduce it and take people through. So the consumer wanders up to the screen and they essentially choose which product they want, how much they want, and that's really important because they need to be really specific about how much they're buying because they can't actually afford to go over budget. So that's a really key point. So they choose how much they want, and then they're directed to go to the correct module, pop their own container or a rented container underneath the lit sort of beacon there, and then they press the button once and the liquid dispenses, and it uses sort of a loss in weight with a whole PLC that controls the system to basically tell the dispenser, the peristaltic pumps, to stop pumping, and then the consumer is told that they have their refill and they can go on their merry way.
Oh, okay. How merry. Yeah, how merry. So you mentioned earlier, consumers will buy their favourite brands from things like Procter & Gamble, Unilever. Is there any capacity to involve those kind of products in with your solution?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't make that obvious. So the way this sort of works is a lease business model. Okay. So I would lease this specifically at the moment to Indonesian supermarkets, and then Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Lush, all these different suppliers would then sort of have a space in each of these modules, and that's how I would get the product in there. Would be the most popular product because consumers aren't going to buy brands they've never heard of. They're really loyal to those sort of Head and Shoulders and just the big brands really.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah. I just want to touch on prototyping a little bit because I feel like I've seen an image of something that you did during lockdown. To prototype this.
Yes.
Could you explain what that was, what it is, and how it functions?
Of course. So I was a bit skeptical basically about. I looked at loads of different pumping mechanisms to get shampoo from a huge mass container on the floor, up to about 1.5 meters in height because it's difficult to pump viscous liquid that high. So I landed on a peristaltic pump after trying using air pressure the first time around to dispense, which it's kind of fine, it's just not that good. And then the peristaltic pump, I just really had to prove that it wouldn't be a super slow sort of discharge. So I basically made one of these modules in the actual height and width that it would be, and I got 2 bulk 4-litre packs of Fairy liquid, the Fairy laundry detergent, and then I fixed them up with some peristaltic pumps and some electronics, and basically just proved that the consumer wouldn't be standing there for an hour waiting for 400 millilitres of shampoo, because it's really going to serve people who want 10 mil, also someone who wants loads of shampoo, so it's got to be quick at the same time as being affordable.
Just to explain briefly for those that don't know what you mean by peristaltic pumps.
Yes, absolutely. So a peristaltic pump sort of has a geared motor in the middle which sort of forces liquid through a tube. I think it's maybe negative displacement, I can't remember.
Displacement.
Some form of displacement.
It basically just sucks the liquid up from the bulk container at the bottom, all the way through the tube and out the top. Yeah.
Awesome. Really cool.
Yeah, kind of like a siphon system.
I guess.
Yeah, I did look at siphons as well.
There we go. See, there we are, we're on it. So, I think finally, I just want to ask you about the name.
Yes.
Refillery Risa.
Yes.
Can you tell us the thinking behind that?
Yeah, of course. So one of my big inspirations in this project is a lady called Risa, and she set up a centre for kids and adults on the biggest landfill site in Indonesia. And I actually spoke to her about my project, and I was just inspired by the fact she went and got herself an education at Cambridge, and then went back and set up this centre and has been trying to educate people on litter, but also make their lives better, and so that's why it's called after her.
Oh, that's actually really nice.
Awesome.
That is, yeah. And
Really
she's the little helper on the...
Yes, yeah, that's Risa.
That's
Brilliant.
nice, that's great.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much, Enya, for joining us on MIB TV, showing off your project. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.
We'll be back shortly with the final student major project, so make sure you're back in a minute. Welcome back to the final major project interview. It's the last one, but not least, it's Louie, and it's going to be a good one. Louie's got a Viva presentation video. Here it is.
According to the World Health Organization, air pollution is now one of the world's largest environmental health risks, with 92% of the population breathing toxic air. Here in the UK, we are losing 1.6 years of life expectancy due to particulate air pollution. We are now much more informed about the air quality around us as we become more focused on our health and well-being. This led me to the most popular product solution to air pollution at home, an air purifier. Air purifiers work by using a fan to move air through a filter which captures the solid particulates. The existing air purifier market relies on air filters that must be disposed of via landfill. This means that 6,000 tonnes of air filter waste are sent to landfill every year. This allowed a design brief to be set to design a sustainable, zero-waste air purifier that tackles air pollution in the home, suitable for small urban living spaces. The outcome? Olus, the first air purifier to use fully biodegradable plant-based filters. Here shows the functional design of Olus. The top case can be lifted to access the air filter, which fits onto the base of the product. The motor is held in place by two components that can be easily removed. This allows for ease of repair, so if the motor fails due to high usage, Olus can be repaired instead of being thrown away. The fan at the bottom of the product is a centrifugal fan, which enables clean air to be delivered in 360 degrees. This is guarded by a number of fins, so the user cannot easily injure themselves. Polylactic acid, or PLA, had the ideal properties to replace synthetic nanofilters. Not only is PLA a widely available, sustainable polymer sourced from cornstarch and sugarcane, but it also has the right balance of biodegradability and longevity. These air filters are fully biodegradable and so can be composted in municipal composting sites. The process of replacing the PLA nanofilter has been made as easy as possible with a simple airtight push fit that allows for ease of use. Used filters can be sent back to the supplier for composting using the same box the replacement filters arrive in, which will include a prepaid shipping label. Olus incorporates biophilia through its use of dried moss, which has a functional purpose to protect the PLA nanofilter. The dried moss is the first layer of filtration that captures large pollutants such as pet hair or lint, therefore extending the life of the PLA nanofilter. The plant pot at the top of the product allows Olus to work alongside nature, where the plant will absorb carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. These natural elements call on humans' innate relationship with nature and build upon the health benefits of clean air to further alleviate stress and improve productivity. Early computational fluid flow simulations showed two main problems. The airflow at the outlet recirculated around the fan before leaving the product, and the airflow at the intake lingered at the top of the product. These were overcome by directing the airflow with streamlined fins at the outlet and an internal funnel at the top of the product. An air quality sensor and corresponding LCD display show the current air quality of the room. This provides real-time user feedback of the product and its function. Olus will include 3 fan speeds: a standard speed for general use, a high speed for times of very high pollution, and a night mode which uses a low speed to minimize noise. This project focused on the product solution to zero waste air purification and the user benefits. The next steps would be to thoroughly develop the accompanying service system of used filter collection and composting. This project was carried out in collaboration with Christian Kerrigan Architecture.
So that was Louie Duncan's Viva video for his project. How are you doing, Louie? You good?
Very good, thank you. You alright?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm on the last one now, so I'm getting energised, just ready to go. Best to last, yeah.
Maybe the awards would maybe suggest something.
That's what I was going to say. First of all, well done.
Thank you.
Yesterday you won the best of sustainability.
That's right.
Yeah? And as someone else in the sustainability category, legitimately well done, because I thought you definitely deserved it. So there you go. I'm going to go straight in. Your project looks beautiful, as we can see there. It looks very beautiful. Did you set out intending for it to look like that, or did you kind of develop a nature aesthetic as you went on through your research and stuff?
Well, I always try and incorporate a bit of natural aesthetic into my projects usually. So I like to do a bit of biophilic design, so biophilia being humans' innate relationship with nature. So bringing natural elements back into people's homes, people live in the city, something like the barge house, for example, the greenery, it plays a massive effect on people's moods, and so I like to incorporate a bit of that. So that was the goal from the outset, but I didn't know what it was going to look like until, eventually I got all the functionality working, and this is kind of what I come up with.
No, I love the aesthetics.
It is. It's like you see these green walls, right? On buildings, and it's basically just a mini green roundabout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mini green roundabout.
Not as good of a name as Olus, but
no. Before we get into the name, in your video we saw that you did some kind of simulations to kind of visualize the airflow.
Yeah.
What software did you use for that, and how integral was that to the outcome of your project?
So I used ANSYS, good old ANSYS. It's a classic engineer's favourite. And yeah, so basically I simulated how the air moved through the product, and I needed to do that because after testing a bunch of fans, I still struggled to understand what the air was doing through the product. There's only so much you can measure with a airflow monitor.
Sure.
I need to see it. So so I simulated the fan movement in basically in just a room of air, and then I could see exactly how it moved through the product, and therefore make improvements to make sure it was much more efficient. And I have that skill because of Tim Minton and his CAD project. And yeah, that was the idea behind that one.
Awesome. Now, a little birdie tells me, well technically quite a big birdie, I suppose, that you did a lot of testing with basically a cloud chamber in your little workshop. So tell us a little bit about what that was.
That was interesting. So basically, I made this massive acrylic chamber, which I sealed with duct tape. And essentially I tried to simulate a highly polluted room so I could test how well these materials would filter the air. So yeah, half my room this year was this massive tank where I had attached to it a can of antiperspirant, of all things. And the antiperspirant, I sprayed the antiperspirant into the box with an air pollution monitor in the box, and that I could take readings from that, and that accurately simulated a highly polluted room, and therefore I could then test how the materials would filter that from the air. And yeah, it was basically living alongside that for the past 8 months, but that pretty much told me that the filter that it used works the best and compared to some other materials, and busted some myths about for example, kitchen roll. People swear by kitchen roll in some places of the world. That
what do people swear by regarding kitchen roll?
They say that you can replace basically the filter with kitchen roll. by putting it over a normal fan. So I put that to the test. It doesn't work.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Yeah. No, and then I think, well, finally, then the name of your product.
Yes.
You explain the name of your product.
The name of the product comes from the Greek goddess of the winds called Aeolus, and so I just shortened the name Aeolus to Olus. And it's a bit of
I was right.
You're right.
I was perfectly right.
There you go.
Yeah. Barney and Louie's project do have the same name.
They do. Yeah.
They do.
Which we
There
found
you
out
go.
yesterday, which is quite funny.
Yeah. There we go. No, that's really cool. Thank you very much, Louie, for coming on. We appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having me. It's an honour. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's it for all of our major project student interviews. We hope you've enjoyed all of them. I think we've had, how many? We had 49?
Yeah, nearly 50. Nearly 50 students.
50 students.
So yeah, a massive thank you to everyone that has come in to talk to us about their projects. All of them have been brilliant.
Yeah.
I know some people are a little bit nervous, a bit scary, that come walking into an interrogation chamber.
Yeah.
But no.
It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
It's not that
and
bad.
we've enjoyed it. It's not that bad.
See, there you go.
And we've enjoyed it just as much.
No, we have. It's 4 o'clock, which means that it's time for our student-led programming. We're going to be leading on to that in a second. We're going to be recreating the Unfolded podcast with myself and Toby, and we're going to be doing that live, so make sure you tune in for that. We're going to take about a 10-minute break, but we'll be back very quickly, so you can check that out. See you in a bit.